Hello, Moto.
Hello?
Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to the EJ Tech Show. I'm Sahil and this is Soham, and this right here is the new Moto Razr 2 or Moto Razr 5G, whatever you want to call it. And honestly, this feels like a big deja vu because didn't we just do a proper hands-on back in February?
It's still the same year.
Yeah, and it's still the same year, and here we have the sequel now.
And it's still pretty much the same phone, but there are some differences.
Yeah, there are some differences, but first we have to address who this phone is actually meant for. I mean, who would one recommend it to? Who would buy this sort of phone? And in my opinion, I think it's two types of people. So the first person, it's all about nostalgia.
Yeah.
Because obviously this phone is a big throwback to the original iconic Moto Razr, which everyone loved. And that also, by the way, that person would also be an early adopter of technology as well.
Yeah.
Then there's a second type of person who saw the first Moto Razr and said, oh, you know what? That looks cool, but I'm going to wait until Motorola makes all the improvements that people have been talking about with the first Moto Razr, and then maybe I'll put my money where my mouth is. And honestly, if you're one of those people, then you made the right decision because Motorola has made some very decent upgrades over here. Some decent upgrades, some decent specs. I mean, you're not getting crazy specs like, let's say, on the Samsung Note 20 Ultra or even on Motorola's own Edge Plus. Yeah. But then again, those phones don't do this. They don't do this. And that feels good even now.
That's what it all boils down to. With a phone like this, you're not paying for the specs or the internals. To some extent you are, but you're mostly paying for the foldable experience of that whole novelty of the fact that you have a completely perfectly usable smartphone when it's open, and then you slam it shut. It's a smaller form factor, fit it somewhere else. Motorola's clearly seen that they want to go with the clamshell design.
Yeah.
They've not yet even hinted at the fact that they might use a different folding mechanism. So if a clamshell is what you want, this is what Motorola is offering you.
And that design, it's like you said, it is still very similar to what we got the last time around. You're still getting that vertical foldable flip form factor. There are some noticeable changes. For example, the chin has now been slightly tapered down, which helps in making the phone look even more slimmer. And that fingerprint scanner that used to be at the bottom of the chin has now been moved over here. On the back with the Moto iconic Moto logo. It looks nice, but it's convenient to use it when it's shut because then this is easy. But when you're opening the phone and trying to use it, then it's pretty hard. It's like trying to figure out where it is, and your hand will try to locate it, but you never quite get it. It's like an Italian job. So it could have been better placed, but fine, whatever. And then another change is, and this is big for me at least, you do get a physical SIM slot this time. Yeah. Which is great because last time
we only had eSIM.
You got eSIM. And it's not complicated to figure out an eSIM, but this is way more convenient.
Yeah, it's way more convenient because you probably already have a physical SIM card and you can just take it out, put it in this, get up and running quick and easy. Yeah. And when it comes to design, I think personally, yes, there's not a huge difference between this and the previous Moto Razr. But I think the subtle changes are good enough for me to feel like this is a better looking Moto Razr than that one was. Yeah. That one was sharper. This one's a little more rounded, like the tapered edge sort of tucks into it. It looks a little bit more retro as well, which is kind of nice because that's the whole theme of this phone. That's the whole reason Motorola brought this phone back from the dead, because they said we want to bank on that nostalgia factor, on that retro factor.
But also the button layout has changed, so now your power buttons move to the left side while your volume rockers still remain on the right side, and that's good because it helps you to easily differentiate between those two buttons. But let's talk about the thing that actually makes this foldable technology tick, and that's the hinge. And even that's been improved. It feels much more durable now, and of course this hinge will shut completely flat. Motorola calls this the zero gap hinge, but there is, if you notice very carefully, there is a very slight gap, but you'll only find that if you're really
but it is significantly less than what we've seen even previously from Motorola before and from other competing brands like Samsung, because what Motorola does is really innovative. Instead of putting a real big crease in the middle and having the hinge shut the screen almost flat, they tuck the screen into the lower half of the phone, so that essentially you get a near creaseless sort of display when it's unfolded, which is really cool because there's no real visible crease, especially when you're looking at it from the front. There's none whatsoever that you can notice.
Well, if you are looking for the crease, you will find it.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
mean, especially at different lighting angles, you will pick up on it. But if it doesn't bother you, you're going to be fine with it. It's there. It's definitely way less prominent than what we have on the Z Flip or even on the Z Fold 2. But fine, the crease is there and it exists. At the end of the day, this is a foldable phone. Creases are inevitable, right? Apart from that, let's go back to that hinge. Motorola has basically said that this is rated to give you 200,000 folds, which is a very big number. So let's put that into perspective. If you were to basically open or shut this phone 100 times a day, you still wouldn't hit that 200,000 mark in 5 years.
Yeah,
so that's pretty good. Also worth mentioning, no official IP rating over here for water resistance, but instead you do get something called water repellent design. That's what Motorola calls it, which means it should be fine against the odd splashes.
But definitely don't dunk it in the toilet or the pool.
The pool. Definitely stay away from that sort of stuff. Now the camera has also been bumped this year from 16 megapixel to 48 megapixel single sensor. Motorola has basically settled for this form factor.
Yeah.
This is, like I said, a big throwback to the original iconic Moto Razr. So they're not really going to be changing this design that much.
They're just going to keep upgrading the internals a bit.
If you were expecting to get a flagship array over here of beautiful, amazing 4-lens system, you're not going to get that over here. I mean, honestly, this is a flagship camera system, right? This, not so much. And that's okay, because if Motorola is settling for this form factor, then there's only so much you can do, so many camera lenses you can jam into a form factor like this, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay, so when you flip this phone open, and honestly I just did that because I wanted to do that. Didn't even really want to talk about the inner display, just gave me a chance to do that. This is a 6.2-inch OLED display with a plastic coating. It's 21:9, it's got 21:9 aspect ratio. So it's actually exactly the same like last year. And it's a 720p display and not a 1080p display. And that for me is a bit of a disappointment, because when you're paying so much money, 1080p is the bare minimum. I'm not even asking for a high refresh rate over here or anything like that.
But because there is none.
Yeah, there is none. But still, I mean, honestly, if you're asking me to watch Christopher Nolan's Tenet in 720p on YouTube, that sucks.
To be fair, Christopher Nolan is probably going to cuss you out for watching Tenet on a smartphone in the first
I'm talking
place.
about the trailer. I'm talking about the trailer, not the film. Like,
okay.
I want to see that in 1080. I mean, in today's day and age, what else are you doing? Like right now, you are watching a lot of content, so you do want the best display experience. And like I said, I don't want high refresh rate. I don't even want QHD plus display. Just a standard 1080p. And honestly, I think Motorola could have totally done it. I'm sure they have their reasons for not doing it.
Pretty sure they're going to do it in the next generation.
Yeah, but they have to leave something for the following generations. But still, it could have also gone in this generation. That's all I'm saying. But the crease, he mentioned the crease, like I said as well. If you're looking for it, it's there, but it's not all that intrusive. It doesn't really bother me. Also, you've got that 20 megapixel front camera on that notch over there, pretty much similar to last year as well.
My biggest annoyance is the fact that the display, even when it's unfolded, it doesn't feel like it's completely flat. It always feels like it's slightly angled towards you. I don't hate it, but it's just, it's a little odd. It takes a little getting used to.
Someone who really cares about symmetry, this is going to piss you off.
This is going to annoy you.
Now, I know it feels like a whole lot hasn't changed, but Motorola has saved all the changes for the inside. And this phone gets powered by the Qualcomm Snapdragon 765G, which means that this is 5G compatible. This is a 5G phone, hence Razr 5G. Now, a lot of good that's going to do to us over here, but when it does eventually roll out in 5 or 10 years or whatever, this phone will be 5G ready and will be ready to give you really high data speeds. But the 765G processor, now that's part of the 700 series, which is one notch below the 800 series. And we've used it on phones like the OnePlus Nord as well. And honestly, it's a very reliable processor. It's very fast, it's very quick. Obviously, it's not as powerful as the 865 Plus or the 865.
And the places that you're really going to notice the grunt of power that the 8 series offers over, let's say, the 7 series is probably mobile gaming and not a lot of other tasks apart from that.
Yeah, but it's also good that it's not the 800 series processor, because then that is going to drain a lot of battery, and considering that this has a 2800 mAh battery.
It's really tiny.
Yeah, that is really, it's a slight bump. I think the last one had a 2100 mAh battery, so 2800 one. But yeah, if you do give this a very powerful processor, it's going to be a complete battery vampire. So it's a good thing that it is a 765G and not an 865 or 865 Plus.
Now, like you said, the battery has been bumped up slightly, and so has the RAM. It's now 8 GB RAM, which is respectable to say the least, and storage is 256 GB.
Not expandable.
Not expandable, but then again, a lot of phones nowadays are not going expandable. In fact, even the Fold 2 is not expandable anymore, and that's a real kick in the nuts. Motorola are not doing it. It's still understandable because this is a smaller phone, so I understand that.
Okay, so I've been saving the best for last now, and that outer display. And this is the one area where the Razr 2 just beats the pants of the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip. Because the display on that, if you can even call it a display.
You can't call it a display.
Yeah, it's pathetic, right? I mean, you can just about see some notifications, you can hardly interact over there, but over here you can totally interact. You do a lot more than that. And this is also a great example of Motorola's software optimization.
In fact, I think Motorola is banking on people using this more than the inner display, because to be fair, that's part of the reason why the battery is that small, because they feel like you're not going to open the phone every time there's an important task that needs to be done. Some tasks, like just replying to a quick message or checking notifications, can easily be done from this outer display. And Motorola, as you said, packed in a lot of software to help people do that easily.
You say that, but it's just that there is a lot of stuff you can do with this smaller display. You can even like watch YouTube on this. You can slide down your notification panel. But then, let's say if you're typing, do you really want to type on a screen this size, or do you really want to? Will you actually enjoy watching YouTube?
See, to that I'd say I feel it's like a smartwatch. Like so now I use a smartwatch with my iPhone. And I use it, why? Because I want quick access to my notifications as and when they come in. Or if I want to answer calls or reject calls, it's just an easier way of doing that.
Notification is different. It's really good for notifications, and you can interact with notifications in a lot of different ways over here. But I was talking more about using this as, let's say, a proper second display.
I wouldn't recommend that, obviously. I wouldn't recommend using it out and out.
I think most people will just end up opening it to do all your main tasks. But if you're feeling lazy and you do want to quickly watch something on YouTube, you can do that. That option is there, and something that's definitely not available on the Z Flip.
It's somewhat like the screen we saw on the first generation Galaxy Fold, as in it's there because it's usable, but you really shouldn't be using it as like
you won't be using it because you know that the inner display is far better, far
exactly.
Okay, so a quick early impressions time, and like I said before, a couple of times in this first impressions, that with this form factor there's only so much you can do in terms of upgrading the technology. You can only give so many cameras, you can only give so much of a powerful processor, you can only put in so much RAM.
It has its limitations.
It has its limitations, but Motorola has still done a really good job with what it's been given, with what it's created. Because it's going for this form factor, considering all of that, it's still offering you some really solid specs, especially over the last generation.
Motorola ultimately is one of the big brands out there that's known for making smartphones well. Their operating system is still one of the best we have. Like on Android 10, they have a near stock Android experience. They're still really good with things like that. So from them to see that first generation project with the Moto Razr 1 was a little underwhelming. This, I think, really hits the sweet spot.
Yeah, but you also do need to be aware of what
pitfalls
you are getting into. There are pitfalls with foldable technology. And if you are a spec hound, then no, this isn't for you. But like you said, if you're into the nostalgia, if you're into the novelty, if you are an early adopter of technology, then you're definitely going to appreciate the new Moto Razr 2. We liked it. Let us know what you think. Did you like it? Let us know if you are planning to buy this phone, because it is very, very expensive. But that's it for us. If you are watching this on YouTube, don't forget to hit the sub button. Don't forget to hit the like button. We'll be back very soon. See you next time.